Hello and welcome to Climate Check. Today on the program, we focus on responsible mining, manganese mining in Serenje, and this is in Central Province. And we will be discussing this and many other issues around environmental protection. This is Climate Check. Join me on the other side. Welcome back to Climate Check. Joining me in studio is Mr. Freeman Chiwele Mubanga. He is Head of Research and Studies Center for Environmental Justice, SEJ, as well as Mr. Vuyo Mampango, who is from Southern Africa, and he is a project manager for strengthening respect for environmental rights in Zambia. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right. I think let's first get into appreciating the current status quo of manganese mining in Serenje district. I'll start with you, Mr. Mubanga, because I know that SEJ has been on the ground several times.
Right. No, and thank you so much, first of all. You see, when we started off our advocacy in Serenje, we started off with the idea of promoting responsible business conduct from the operations taking place there. But then when the issue of manganese mining came about, because manganese mining now is like the core mining issue in Serenje, so we started noticing a number of issues with regards to illegal mining, for example, artisanal and small-scale mining operations taking place. So our focus was mainly on safeguarding the rights of the local communities. If there are any cases of displacements and relocations in due for mining as a land-based investment, but then at the same time was to strengthen the appreciation of environmental rights for the communities, and also to understand the due obligations both from government side and the private sector, which are the companies themselves. And so you could see that manganese mining has taken center stage, even with the demand for transition minerals within our current times. And you see now that not only just Central Province, but also Luapula is also taking center stage with the mining Luango that the head of state had launched in 2022. But specifically in Serenje, most of the operations that are taking place, we have, of course, foreign investments, but also local investment from ZCC, MIH, that also manage a manganese mining company there. So there's a number of processing plants, and then they are also extracting manganese, the manganese ore itself that they are also exporting.
Now, Vuyo, recently we have heard of cases of illegal mining, especially gold rush in places like Mufumbwe, Nangoma, Mumbwa, and this is being done without the proper equipment, safety kits, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, what is the impact of illegal mining on the environment before we delve back on manganese?
Thank you so much, Mary. If you look at the framework in which illegal mining is done, most of it is being illegal, it's unregulated. Yeah. So we see it as one of the critical means through which we have a lot of loss in terms of forex, or in terms of taxes that the government should have once benefited from, but also pollution of the environment, such as waters in which this mining is being done, land, and a lot of mass deforestation, for example. But this is not just mainly to manganese. We see it also, the gold rush that you've stated in Mufumbwe. We see accidents that are happening. All of this screams out the need for us to regulate the sector and see how we can safeguard not just the environment, but the persons that are in this environment, which is being violated by illegal mining.
Okay. Now, in terms of manganese mining in Serenje, Vuyo, there has been a lot of problematic statements coming out of that area with things not being done right. What are some of the observations so far?
We are talking about environmental rights. Yeah? If you look at, for example, I'll take you to the pollutions that have taken place on the copper belt. Much noise we've heard both from the local communities. A lot of outcry has come out from civil society. the cry has been to protect the environment. But I would ask, for whose sake do we protect this environment? This environment is being protected for the sake of the human agent. And coming to the case of Serenje, we are seeing that a lot of people are being affected by these mines, by the pollution, for example. The land pollution, we see the water pollution, we see the air pollution. And the communities in question, we see that there's a case that is ongoing, that we've seen active people being actively poisoned by manganese. So it's a reality. Whereas the cases on the copper belt are, for example, maybe deemed to be a future contamination in the lives of people. For civil society, actually, it's an outcry that actual contamination, actual pollution, actual sicknesses, actual poisoning, it has happened in Serenje. So that's cause for attention to this sector in Serenje.
Let's focus on your project in Serenje, Center for Environment Justice. What is the focus? What is it that you're trying to do in this location?
Right, so the Center for Environment Justice, of course, in partnership with HIVO Zambia and the Zambia Institute for Environment Management, ZIEM, we are running a consortium-based kind of project strengthening environmental rights in Zambia with funding from the European Union Commission. The main idea is really to strengthen the people that are demanding for these rights. They need to know what rights they need to demand for and how to demand for those rights. And also they need to understand the channels they can use in order to access remedy for some of the issues they're facing there in terms of violating human rights in the context of mining. So what we are doing now, we are trying to create more of a capacity in the local communities by exposing them to the environmental law in Zambia. That is why we are working with ZIEM, who are quite an expert in that area. And then also on the other side, we are also trying to engage government. And this will come in the next phase of the project, where we'll also have capacity-based activities with the duty bearers to understand also the challenges from their side and how they can meet the demands coming from the demand side, which is the environmental right holders.
What are some of the observed limitations so far, working with the community?
Well, I mean, obviously it's going to be access to justice and remedy. That's one of the main key issues that has been observed, in as much as we do have already existing legal frameworks that not only protects but safeguards also the lives of the local communities, but it's how to access those rights. For example, for some community members might be treated harshly. It could be a labor issue in mining institutions. It could be displacements like we've seen in other areas in Zambia. But then they have these issues and they can echo them out, but they don't really know how to actually get justice and what does justice mean in their setting. So if you displace a community or people wrongfully treated when they are employed on short-term contracts that don't even make sense, the payments are really minimal, and they incur certain exposure to manganese, for example, like what Mr. Vuyo was saying. How can they demand for what is rightly due for them? How can they get the law on their side? And those are some of the issues we are facing to help communities understand the channels that are available. And if those channels that are available are not working, how can communities raise their voices so that other people that can help them champion their cause jump on board?
Okay. Vuyo, how can we ensure that these communities in Serenje who are involved in manganese mining do the right thing? Because we know that even if we put in place regulations and they fail to meet those regulations, they'll still do the back door. They'll still continue mining in a wrong way, or they'll still continue being mistreated. How can we ensure that this mining activity continues, but in a sustainable manner?
One of the best or the most, the most celebrated gains of the 20th century was the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. To say that a miner 500 meters down the ground is as important as the CEO sitting in an air-conditioned room. So protecting, when you look at the United Nations guiding principles on business and human rights, they say the number one duty of the state is to protect its people. And then the second principle is that companies have the obligation to uphold human rights. And the third principle is that there should be remedy in terms of losses. So we really thank government for the step that they took, especially in the year 2021, in establishing a commission of inquiry to investigate, for example, the challenges that these, for example, we are talking about Serenje, the people that were exposed to the poisoning. That investigation was done and also tabled in Parliament. So that is a critical role that the state can play. Only the state can play that role. So the next step then is redress for those people that have been affected by the stated contamination. On the side of the companies that are established in a country, they have the right to uphold the high standard of human rights, human dignity. One of our greatest challenges in a developing country is trying to balance between the goal of developing. We're in a rush. We are looking at the 3 million metric tons of production, for example, and balancing that with upholding human dignity at the same time. So coupling these two may not always be easy, but then the state comes in to provide that oversight. You know, being in a capitalist or in a market-driven economy, businesses can only be put in check by the state. And historically, at least, the state has proven that they are doing that, but I believe more needs to be done, more so providing a voice. That's why we are here as civil society, to help raise that voice for those communities that may never have a chance to be on climate check.
I like that. Now, Freeman, are these communities aware of their rights? There may be places where you may not reach, but if they are aware, then they may raise a voice.
Right. And you see, we've been sensitizing in some communities where even just simple issues like community radio stations are not available. And you begin to wonder, to say, how do they get, current information, like news, for example? How do they get to appreciate what's really happening? I've been to areas, for example, in Mafinga, where the radio that they I don't know now, but that was maybe somewhere 2024 or 2023, somewhere there. They would obviously rely on the radio stations from Malawi and other neighbors. So there are those communities in Zambia that rely on radio stations from the neighboring countries. They don't have access to our own. So for us, what we believe at CEJ is we need to create these sustainable linkages with communities through the local authority. Motivation has to be there through the local authority by working with them. They're the ones that work with these communities. But when we get into the community, what sort of dialogues can we generate? And then also pushing the culture of having community meetings on natural resource management. And this has started happening in Sinazongwe now. They've picked up that idea where communities, through our local district coordinator and even by themselves through the headmen, they can convene and have these dialogues on natural resource management, address the issues they're facing. If it's land rights, if it's environmental rights per se, they can address them as a community and then call for an expert from government to join them in that meeting. This is very common as well with community development specialists within local districts, where communities would call for a specialist from local, development office, and then they would go there, engage with the communities that have organized themselves, and then that, for me, is actually a gain on civil society role in playing that extension service role for community to complement government efforts.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much for making time to be on Climate Check and for sharing this valuable information and bringing to light some of these happenings in Serenje around manganese mining.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Climate Check. We take a short break. On the other side, we will focus on the Zambia Environmental Justice Coalition, which has called for a full reassessment of compensation plans for the communities affected by the Kafue River toxic spill. Our staffer Zachariah Tawanda Nyimbili attended their press briefing in Lusaka, and this is what they said.
The Zambia Environmental Justice Coalition has called for a full reassessment of compensation plans for communities affected by the Kafue River toxic spill. Coalition spokesperson Meluli Batakati says affected communities should be fully involved in the process to ensure fairness and intergenerational justice.
The members of the community were not part of the negotiation of that compensation package. So as we see today, nobody knows what parameters or what criteria was being used to calculate that compensation package, which is very sad. And that is why we are calling for a reassessment which is transparent.
His remarks follows findings from an independent test released by the Embassy of Finland, confirming 24 heavy metals in the river, 16 of which exceed World Health Organization safety limits.
An independent company was going to come and assess the damage, and that the findings will be made public. 4 months down the line, I am yet to see that report. I don't know if anyone in here has seen it. If they have, they can share it. But we have not seen it. The only thing we were told was that there was a 16 million kwacha compensation package, which we do not know where it came from. So what is the short-term measure? I think we need to go back to the drawing board and start doing things correctly. The US government has advised its citizens to stay 24 kilometers away. How about our citizens who are right there in the vicinity of the area? Are they not people? Are they not human beings? So we need to think about that. All of us, the responsibility is on all of us who belongs to this country.
He has further urged government to take bold and transparent steps to hold polluting mining companies accountable and ensure long-term restoration. Meanwhile, Transparency International Zambia's head of programs, Raymond Mutale, says deliberate mechanisms are needed to safeguard communities beyond government action.
The report, first of all, exposes us as a country that we have weak oversight mechanisms. That's number one. And we need to be serious because there are lives involved in these issues. Serious in terms of strengthening institutions that should provide this oversight that we're talking about. Secondly, we need to ensure that all the players in these processes are not only responsive to government. First and foremost, they need to be responsive to host communities, because government operates to serve the communities. Investors operate to serve the communities. And responsiveness should not only be to government. You cannot hold anyone accountable out of ignorance. You need the information, because the information then is the basis for you to start asking questions.
The toxic spill in the Kafue River continues to raise alarm among stakeholders, with growing calls for accountability, transparency, and long-term safeguards to protect both the environment and livelihoods of the affected communities. Zakaria Nyimbele reporting.
Welcome back. From that report, we now highlight to you what it means to do responsible mining in Zambia, because we had an opportunity to interact with EPSA Limited, a company in Finland that is focusing on collaborating with mining companies in developing countries such as Zambia to ensure that we reduce on some of these mining accidents, mining pollutions, by treating the tailing dams and ensuring that before they are full, they are clean. And so this is what we found out on our tour of duty. Following the contamination of the Kafue River on the Copper Belt early this year, experts established that acid was not the only problem. The Zambia Institute of Environmental Health says several types of heavy metals were part of the contamination contents, affecting human health, biodiversity, and the livelihoods of communities in the area. This is EPSA, a company that specializes in the treatment of industrial hazardous processes and wastewater containing soluble metals. Located in Finland's second largest city of Tampere, the company's technology could just be the solution to Zambia's mining waste management and environmental concerns.
We have been visiting Zambia already in several mining sites. And what we see that we can offer to Zambian mining companies better way to use water resources and increase the productivity. At the same time, we can secure the water bodies in Zambia and help mining companies how to make safe tailings dams.
The Chief Executive Officer emphasizes the need to prevent the mining waste pollution than to solve problems afterwards.
You have to create a monitoring system for the tailings dam, tailings areas, and you have to measure it, you have to take samples continuously to see and know what are the circumstances. That's the only way to do it. That's why we have created so-called zero reaction time program for mining sites.
The EPSA technology, on the other hand, can remove over 50 types of metals from water.
Our company is specializing in heavy metal removal. So basically what is EPSA? EPSA is, we have our own chemical which we mix in the wastewater, and then we add lime and then take the pH above neutral. So what will happen is the metals in the wastewater, they will trap, and they will, it's like a, in simple words, like a fish net. So the fish is trapped in the net. It's like heavy metals are trapped in this net. So they are not going away. Even after you take the sludge out and you can safely dispose it or use it for some other purpose, the metal will not leach back to the environment.
Officials of EPSA, working with the Embassy of Finland in Zambia, have established talks with government and relevant stakeholders.
We have discussing with several parties in Zambia, government, ZEMA, and the mining companies, how to organize this kind of zero reaction time program, which gives benefits also to mining companies in order to use the right way, the recycle right way the water, and increase the productivity. And it will give updated information for SEMA and Zambian government, what are the circumstances in tailings areas, and especially what are the circumstances in water, and that there are no so-called ticking bombs in the tailing ponds.
As Zambia targets to increase copper production to 3 million metric tons by 2031, mining activities are expected to be on the rise, and the EPSA technology is one catalyst to sustainable mining and environmental protection. Mary Mwikisa for Climate Check in Tampere, Finland. We have come to the end of Climate Check for this week. Make a date next week, same time, same channel. My name is Mary Mwikisa. Thank you for watching, and remember to play a part in taking care of the environment. Goodbye.